everyone, and welcome back. For this video, I have compiled a few clips I filmed over the month of January while using my notebooks and other stationery items. Feel free to use the chapter feature on YouTube to skip to certain sections that interest you. For 2025, one of my goals was to add back all of my school-related tasks for my master's degree into my main planner, which is a hobonichi Week Standard Edition. So far, I've really enjoyed adding my extra lists and notes where they are easy to access and reference. I also feel a lot more organized, where I can focus all my attention onto one book rather than separating my personal planner and my academic planner like 2024. Here I am using a sticky note from the Coffee Monsters Code to jot down a few topics that I want to discuss during a meeting with my academic advisor. This is done with a Pilot Vanishing Point in extra fine with platinum carbon black ink. Next, I'm grabbing a Midori Cream sticky note with a Pilot Finishing Point in fine in order to make a bold header. I think this really may be my new favorite sticky note, as I love the way the cream paper looks with the hobonichi cream paper, and it's also slim enough to fit nicely within the hobonichi weeks. For this sticky note, I am breaking down some milestones for my final paper into smaller, more manageable tasks. I really like to do this as a way to make sure I don't get too overwhelmed by just one big task. I wanted to update you guys on my new approach to the monthly pages for my 2025 hobonichi weeks. But first, let's backtrack to how I've used the monthly layout in this planner for the past 2 years. So this is my 2023 Bunnies hobonichi weeks, and then my 2024 the Black Gingham paper series. So back in 2023, this was my first full year in the hobonichi weeks, and I really took the time to fill it out with all of my events with these little like icon stickers. And I did this for practically every single month within this year. And I even experimented with adding habit trackers, as well as little extra lists around the actual like monthly calendar. And this worked really well, especially since this was a year where I was getting used to using the hobonichi week, so I was trying to experiment and see what worked and what didn't. But I overall really enjoyed filling out this monthly layout. Moving to 2024, I set up the December and January monthly, and then I just quickly fell off track and just did not really touch it at all for the rest of the year. I just didn't really see a point since I was already marking all of these events within the weekly section of the hobonichi weeks. And personally, I had a little bit of a struggle with this planner last year, was just filling it out. And since for me, I am a weekly planner, the weekly section was the priority for me. So I just didn't see how trying to fill it out also in the weekly section made sense for me, which is why these are just blank. However, for 2025, I just didn't want to leave it blank. I really wanted to try to challenge myself to see what I can do to try and utilize these monthly pages. Similar to my 2023 and 2024 hobonichi weeks, I was like, let me add the habit tracker and the little goal list, as well as the books I want to read and the social media posts I want to post that month, because that worked pretty well even when I wasn't using the actual monthly calendar. In addition, I also decided to make little vision boards for every single month to help me focus in on my goals, to have a little visual representation, to remind myself not to think of every single thing on my list, but just to focus on what do I need to accomplish this month. And I think this will also be fun to just be able to see my whole entire year in like vision boards. Since I do have my one for 2025, so these will be fun to see what was my focus for each month. However, while I did figure out what I wanted to do with the border of the weeks, trying to figure out what to do with the actual calendar portion left me stumped. So I first decided, because I am adding back my academic planning into this planner instead of having a separate one, to add the weekly numbers that corresponded with what week number I am in my term, just to help me plan better and just know where I'm at and when a term is starting and finishing. However, when I was rewatching an old Megan Rhiannon video on YouTube, I really loved how she journaled within the monthly pages with the space left after noting down any events in her hobonichi weeks. And I think she does this with all of her planners. And honestly, this got me thinking that it would be really useful to see what date a specific appointment was on, like a doctor's appointment, because it's much easier to flip through 12 monthly calendars than 52 weekly pages, especially when certain events that I'm writing down in my weekly pages are not necessarily something that I need to reference in the future, but are more something I need to know within that current week. And so this would be maybe like a few events, like doctor's appointments, specific things like that. And with the space left, I can do some little journaling around. And ultimately, I really love the way it looks. And in order to mark where I'm journaling, I'm using these little icons that Megan Rhiannon drew that I purchased from her digital shop. And essentially, I'm just printing them on Tomio River paper, and then just cutting them myself by hand, since I kind of like the imperfect, like, what is it, kiss cut? And essentially, this is for December. I ended up journaling about how I'm starting a new gaming session, noting down that when I thought about this idea to add in, the journaling, I purchased something, and here it's talking a little bit about school, and then here I still need to journal a little bit about a little snow trip over New Year's Eve. But ultimately, since I'm not using my monthly calendar to plan for the month, I thought this would be a great way to repurpose the pages to reference and fill out once the month is over. During the month of December and January, I made a few stationery purchases that I want to share. First, from Amazon, I purchased a Midori ruler. While I do have this clear one I purchased a few years ago, since it's made out of acrylic, if you use like a sharp X-Acto knife to cut something with, it can get stuck in the ruler, as I've noticed recently. So this is why I got an aluminum one, so that I can use my X-Acto knife to like cut inserts without it getting stuck in the ruler and sometimes messing up the page and having to reprint it. Plus, I love that it folds up so that it's really easy to put in a pencil pouch, but it can extend to be the perfect length for a Hobonichi Weeks planner to make lines in it. Then this next item was a repurchase. It's these Midori sticky notes with the grids. And these are great because they fit, they're like narrow enough to fit in the Hobonichi Weeks planner. And I recently have loved the Midori cream paper, and I find that it works really well with my fountain pen. So I need to repurchase some more since I've been going through my current pack. Next are these mini aluminum paper clips. I think maybe they're like 1/2 inch. They're smaller than like the usual like small ones that you can find. But I was looking for these like little tiny ones so that I can clip things within my Hobonichi Weeks without it getting too bulky. Since I do love like layering papers within my planners, but I just don't want it to have so many that it ends up bulking up my planner a lot. Next, from Etsy, I got a few sticker sheets from Soterlier. I really don't know how to say it, but I got these to decorate the front of my planners and notebooks. And lastly, I went to Daiso since there was a new one that opened near me. And if you've never been to one, it's essentially a Japanese convenience store that has a stationery section. And I got a few items. So another repurchase, but these, they make sticky notes, which honestly I find the quality to be really good, especially since I love how they're like muted tones instead of the usual like Post-it brands that has a lot brighter tones. But I got it in yellow and blue. Plus these are like 200 sheets. They're pretty good for the price. Next, I got a memo checklist pad. Since I have added my academic planning back into my Hobonichi Weeks, for the days where I do want to break down all of my tasks or maybe a specific assignment, this is going to be perfect for that. I picked up one singular sticker sheet. This is from the Toi Moi art style. They've done a few series of these before, and this was a new one to me. Though I do notice that they don't restock old styles, so if you see any that you like, definitely think about maybe getting one or two if you know you're going to want another one. And lastly, I got 2 sets of bags. So I got this little like mesh one. It's a Sanrio character. Never seen it, but I love the little art on it. And I have a bigger one from them, which I love. And then these slider bags. And I took one out to show, but essentially like these like sandwich bags that are like, have these little cute slider. And I essentially needed this for a little photo memory project that I'm going to be working on this year.
Now that it is the end of January, here is a flip through of my weekly pages. Overall, I really enjoyed experimenting with adding bits of journaling below the inbox, and I also really liked the clean look of separating sections with a straight line. I've also been adding an occasional book review to the weekly section. I created this 2-box layout in a Word document and then printed it on cream Midori paper. And this is in order to write a short review of the book. This includes the title, author, date, page count, and review. In addition, I printed a small image of the book so that I can paperclip both of the pieces of paper to add some layer and depth to the weekly layouts. I really like using these mini paper clips as they don't add as much bulk as the typical small ones. Overall, I've really been enjoying my time within the hobonichi weeks and how I've been experimenting in not only the monthly and weekly section, but also the notes. Definitely feels different than my 2024 weeks that I ended up sort of hating by the end of the year. Though, since I do have a standard edition, I am starting to worry whether I will run out of pages before I switch books in December.